what's still ahead. A lot going on right now, Ian.
Yeah, and you start to look at the overall setup. We're similar to the setup we had yesterday in that the greatest threat, the greatest hazard tonight is straight line winds. And, you know, Tim was just in the Weather Center a moment ago reading some of the damage reports as this line of storms here has been advancing from the southwest, now traveling off to the east-northeast, forward speed at around 40 miles per hour. A swath of damage from straight line winds in excess of 50, 60, and 70 miles per hour. And those winds exist all up and down this line of thunderstorms as it advances off to the east. And then you look here and you get kind of a, I mean, it looks a little bizarre. It's like we've created a right angle. This forward portion of the right angle is traveling more to the north-northeast. This north-south orientated part of the right angle is traveling almost east toward the Twin Cities metro. There's a lot of colors on the map. Let me talk about them. This large red box that includes the Twin Cities metro, there it is. That's a tornado watch in place until midnight. And as we work back toward the west, the original tornado watch is right here. That went into play at around 5 p.m. That's also in play until midnight. All of the smaller boxes here are severe thunderstorm warnings in advance of this line of dangerous strong storms. So a new tornado warning was just popped right here. If you start to look toward Browerville, Germania, let me do something. There's an awful lot going on here. Tornado, the storm track itself is still in play. So let me track an overall portion line here. The blue diamonds are going to show where we've locked onto some large hail. This storm, the Doppler unit already tells me it's moving to the north and to the north-northeast at between 20 and 30 miles per hour. So you've got Germania in 21 minutes, Wycombe in 7 minutes, and Ionia in the next 2 minutes. Plenty going on here with the tornado warning in a very small portion of Todd County. That's in place until 7:45. It's also a part of the severe thunderstorm warning for major parts of Morrison and Todd County until 8:15. And again, the greatest hazard, the greatest threat here throughout this entire line, straight line winds at 50, 60, and 70 miles per hour. I want to zoom out on this particular image right here and give you a better idea so that as you look, and you're looking, and I know you are, you're stretching and giving an eye saying, well, where am I? Okay, here's St. Cloud. As this storm has continued to move here just into parts of Stearns County. So that's the latest tornado warning for parts of Morrison and Stearns County until 7:45. And the one thing I want you to notice, the storm's not even here yet. But in advance of that storm, the wind is rolling, and you've got winds coming out of the storm, meeting old winds, what we call outflow boundaries, pushing back toward the storm. So you've got wind advancing, and as they hit, they turn. And when they turn, we get a Doppler indicated tornado warning, and that's exactly what we have here in parts of Morrison and Stearns County. Now expand the view to look more at this line. Look at this line develop here. It has already raced out of parts of Candy-Ojai County. Near Wilmer, just off to the northwest of Wilmer and Murdoch and Bruton, we had reports of tornadoes on the ground about a half an hour ago. So this line continues to advance, creating that spin up. Remember, like I said, the wind advances, the wind comes to, and it makes that little twist. Well, that's what we have all along this line, hence the Doppler indicated tornado warnings. Now let's talk specifically about what's going to happen here in the Twin Cities metro. So these storms have advanced almost all the way through Stearns County, almost all the way through Meeker, and McLeod County is next. So there's McLeod County, there's Sibley County. We're into the western portion of Sibley County. Here's Blue Earth County, the city of Mankato. That line right there will continue to race off toward the east-northeast at between 40 and 50 miles per hour. Rule of thumb is generally a county an hour. So when you start to do the math and you're looking at the Twin Cities, we're talking 8:30 to 9 p.m. for an ETA into the greater Twin Cities metro. If everything holds together in some very hot, humid air, plenty of fuel for these storms to continue to race, if it holds together, we could expect straight line winds at 50, 60, and 70 plus miles per hour in the greater Twin Cities metro. And again, Twin Cities all a part of this tornado watch in place until midnight tonight. Tim and BC, I'm going to get things back to you. I will tell you this. After last night and tonight, I think people are going to be storm worn out. Just stay sky aware. Stay with me for one more night. The sleeves are up until midnight. After we get through this evening, the weekend looks spectacular, and more important, it looks very, very quiet.
And Ian, just to underscore how strong some of these storms are on the far northwestern edge, the latest report is 72 miles an hour at the Alex Airport, straight line winds.
So you get the idea. Alexandria, 70-mile-per-hour winds. These are very strong, damaging storms approaching even the Twin Cities metro as we head toward 9. We'll talk to you in a bit.
All right, sounds good.
The East Metro was hit hard last night. Several neighborhoods were without power for hours, and many people are cleaning up today.
Our Courtney Godfrey joins us live from White Bear Lake now. Courtney, you've been there all day long. They've got a mess out there, don't they?
They sure do, Tim. You know, we're talking about these storms that are coming in, but there's so many people who are left still cleaning up. Take a look at this 40-foot pine tree that ended up in this White Bear Lake home last night. The tree completely uprooted, landing on the home. Thankfully, the structure is okay, but the roof is badly damaged. The roof is punctured, and they're actually out here right now trying to get a tarp under that, trying to do all they can to protect from further water damage as they prepare for more storms tonight. Now, the homeowner here told me that she was watching Fox 9. She knew the storms were coming last night, and she heard the tornado sirens, so they started to head towards the basement when she looked out the window and she saw sparks flying from the utility pole across the street. At that moment, she heard a boom, thought it was the transformer blowing, but in fact looked out the window and saw this in her roof.
I get over here into the room and I take my flashlight, I look, and I'm like, you're kidding me. I used other words because, you know, everyone would. And all I saw was a tree.
Yeah, Kathy, we totally understand that you used some harsh words. I think anyone would when a tree lands on their house. Now, she got power back today at 1 p.m., something she said she's happy with because she understands these crews are busy. Xcel Energy saying that they've got 700 workers out across Minnesota today trying to restore power as fast as they can. Hopefully those who lost power last night won't be losing it again tonight. Cross your fingers. But Kathy also says, you know, this is expensive. She couldn't get a tree company out here today to get this tree off the roof. But I'll tell you, Tim, if she could get $1 for every person that stopped to check out the scene here, she'd probably have the thousands it's going to cost her to repair that roof and get the tree off.
She needs a box there at the end of the street, right? Drop that stuff off. All right, thanks.
She
Courtney.
does.
All right, please don't go away. We'll be right back after the break.
Okay, we had some really cool cloud formations during last night's storm. This is a picture from one of our viewers from Pine City. This is what's called a shelf cloud, and we want to thank Michelle Zinken who sent in this picture. Very dramatic last night. These can look really scary when they come in. Initially, when these shelf clouds go overhead, it's very calm, but usually within a matter of moments after that passes overhead, you typically have some very strong winds that follow. And they're interesting, can be scary to watch because they're very dark, but very dramatic.
Yeah, very dramatic indeed. And you know, last night, the severe weather had a lot of people in parts of the metro on the edge of their seats. A lot of cleanup today, and it sounds like we are due for a round two, Ian.
Oh my goodness, it's already knocking at the door, isn't it?
It really is. And you know, I'll tell you, the warnings have been added to this storm well before the actual storm arrival because there is a gust front. It's actually in front of the storms. And then the winds arrive with the main storms along with the rain, the thunder, the lightning, and some possibilities of brief tornado spin-ups. So lots to talk about on the map. And you'll notice here, Twin Cities Metro in a tornado watch until midnight, as is everywhere in these large red boxes extending back toward the Dakotas, running all the way along the Iowa state line. Embedded in this, we've got this line of very strong thunderstorms advancing toward the metro. So as I mentioned, it's well in advance of the storm's arrival. Notice Hennepin County here. Hennepin County stretching up into Wright County, parts of Sherburne County, all the way down to include Carver and Scott counties, parts of Sibley County, Meeker and McLeod County, all in a severe thunderstorm warning as we work toward 9 p.m. And all day long, I've been talking about arrival here between 8:30 and 9 p.m. So the storms are still well here off to the west. But just like last night, when you start to look here at these white cores, that's where we'll find the strongest updraft. That's where we find the heaviest rain. And sometimes it's also where we find the largest hail. So I want to track that line because when you think about this, we're similar to where we were last night. This is 3.5 million people as these storms advance. Watch as I track all the way down this core and move it off to the northeast at around 45 miles per hour. And I'll freeze it right there. So if you're in these areas, so go up toward Stearns County, in toward Fairhaven and parts of Wright County. Dassel in 8 minutes, that's straight out 212. Hutchinson in 4 minutes in parts of Meeker and McLeod counties, and Winthrop in 3 minutes. Those are the closest major centers to the core of this storm as it advances. But the one thing that is always so impressive with these storms is as you start to look through the storm, and we did this a lot last night, so let me do it for you one more time tonight. Look through the storm and you start to pick up I'm just going to move this slightly here. You start to pick up, see that green, the very, very bright green from just near Glencoe, just on top of Cokato. As we move into parts of extreme eastern Stearns County, what that's showing us is as you're looking here, so Doppler, and I mentioned this last night, Doppler is if you're standing on the side of the highway and a motorcycle comes and screams by you and it changes pitch. It goes, ee. That is something meteorologists call the Doppler effect. It's objects that emit a pitch as they move toward you and away from you. So with that said, and you're looking live at Doppler radar, that green line is indicating very strong motion from all of this rain toward the Twin Cities. And as it hits here and moves up and down this line, let me just move this one more time. As it hits here and moves up and down this line from Cokato all the way to Glencoe, you can expect winds right now in excess of 50, probably 60 miles per hour. So I don't want to forget what's going on here in parts of Benton, Morrison, and Stearns County. And I'll grant you this, it is very, very small. Just to the north of Rice County, that's a tornado warning in place until 8 p.m. All a part of the Morrison and Todd severe thunderstorm warnings also in place until 8 p.m. Metro areas north of the metro here, you are now under the weather gun as this line of very strong storms advances towards the greater metro with an ETA. I'll put you here at 7:50 right now. I'll put you at an ETA for in the heart of the metro, which would be the Loop, by about 9 p.m. You need to get outside. You need to batten down the hatches as we talk about straight line damaging winds possible from about 8:30 all the way through 10:30 tonight for the greater Twin Cities metro. I've taken up some time here, and I always feel like I'm coming in and railroading the show with Tim and BC, but I want to make sure that we do get some news about some of the storm cleanup from last night. And I promise you this, from 8 p.m. on tonight on Fox 9, we will be all about the storm. So I'm going to send things back to Tim and BC, and we'll see you at 8 o'clock on Fox 9.
Sounds good, Ian. Thanks.
An initiative to improve digital equity in Minnesota classrooms is now in full swing.
For a third year in a row, Minnesota Tech for Success is partnering with Affinity Plus Credit Union for its annual Tech Drive. Now, the event will take place each Saturday this month at Affinity Plus branches. This is all across the metro. You're asked to donate unwanted devices such as laptops, desktops, LCD monitors, and keyboards. And then in turn, Tech for Success will provide students and schools with refurbished computers at little to no cost. Yenghua Academy in Northeast Minneapolis has benefited from this program.
It's important because they make the tech for students possible, because we normally sharing the computers for among the grades, but Tech for Success, Minnesota Tech for Success help us to have one-on-one program possible.
It's estimated that nearly 10% of homes in Minnesota don't have a computer. Those interested in donating do not have to be Affinity Plus members. And for those who do participate, Minnesota Tech for Success will wipe all of the hard drives clean.
And we make it really easy. It's a drive up. You drive up, you don't even have to get out of your car. We'll take your computers and we'll collect them.
Now, the Lakeville and Roseville Affinity Plus locations will host tech drives this Saturday between 9 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. The last event will take place May 21st.
A Minneapolis-based organization is making some major investments on the city's north side. In less than a year, the Black Women's Wealth Alliance has acquired a commercial property in 3 residential lots. The goal is to build economic power in North Minneapolis, one property at a time.
We want to make a difference in the hardest places, right? In the toughest places.
On the corner of West Broadway and Fremont in North Minneapolis, an old commercial building bears a new name, Zara.
It means to be radiant and to flourish.
Kenya McKnight Ahad of the Black Women's Wealth Alliance purchased the property last year.
So being a former tenant, you also know everybody.
Inside, 11 commercial suites, 2 restaurants, and a kitchen. She says it's an incubator for Black women entrepreneurs.
We decided that we would create something that would serve us from who we are, how we are, why we are, and that would help us build a clear pathway to economic stability and prosperity.
For McKnight Ahad, it's personal. She has roots here.
It starts here because it's just where the biggest pain point is. And also it's my hood, it's where I grew up. It's where I, struggled. It's where my mother struggled.
And now her acquisitions are growing.
It is really up to us to really help reinvest our own dollars into our community.
The Black Women's Wealth Alliance recently closed on 3 residential lots on the north side.
What we like to do with that is to just open up a cohort of Black women who can help shape the future of what that land becomes for homes that we hope they own.
It's an investment that could impact the lives of those living here for generations to come.
We need them to have a place that they can thrive in, live in, enjoy, and reinvest themselves into. So that's what we're charged with.
The Black Women's Wealth Alliance has had a lot of support along the way. Sunrise Bank, the City of Minneapolis, and Ortis Capital financed the commercial building, and the Polad Foundation and Pillsbury United Communities assisted with the purchase of the residential lots. For more information on the Black Women's Wealth Alliance, just head to our website, fox9.com.
All right, we want to give you right now kind of a live look outside. This is what it looks like, the weather heading toward Glencoe, Minnesota. And you can see what Ian likes to describe as the scud clouds that are into the sky. Very intense lightning here so far. This is all moving toward the Twin Cities metro. As these storms approach, the winds have been gusting anywhere upwards of 50 to 60 miles an hour. It's in part why the National Weather Service has already issued a a severe thunderstorm warning for the Twin Cities metro area, including Hennepin County, getting ahead of these storms because the wind gusts are so incredibly high at the moment. We're keeping an eye on these storms. Ian Leonard is going to be updating us all night long here over on Fox 9, especially starting at 8 o'clock tonight. You can join there in just a few more moments. But again, the lightning, intense, so are the winds, and they are heading straight towards the Twin Cities.
And look at this. This is the first direct image of the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way. It's called Sagittarius A star. This is only the second black hole ever to be imaged by the Event Horizon Telescope Network. Sagittarius is 4 million times the size of our sun and is located about 26,000 light years from Earth.
Just fascinating.
It is. Well, mysterious artist Banksy is the center of a new exhibit that opened today in Minneapolis.
And you can find it at the Lighthouse Art Space in Minneapolis. The show itself is not authorized by the artist. Instead, these are pieces from private collectors around the world. This is the largest touring exhibition of authentic Banksy artwork, featuring more than 100 pieces. The show runs through July 30th. For ticket information, you can head over to fox9.com. Thanks so much for spending time with us here tonight.
And remember, stay sky aware, and Ian will have all of your latest details about all the watches and warnings starting at 9.
situation. And I understand when you look at storm vision behind me, you're thinking to yourself, it looks like kindergartners spilled a bunch of paint. There's an awful lot going on tonight. First and foremost, the large red box that includes the Twin Cities Metro. It is a tornado watch that is in place until midnight, as this line of storms formed well off to the south and to the southwest and has been tracking in all afternoon long. What you see in the video right there is our storm tracker Dorothy. We've put Dorothy down in Glencoe, parts of McLeod County. You can see that it is dark. It is rainy, and the rain will intensify, as will the winds. And it's important to note here that as you look at the greater Twin Cities Metro, notice the large yellow box. That is a severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued well in advance of these storms for areas here from downtown St. Paul all the way west, as this line of storms races in here out of the east. Embedded in these storms, strong straight line winds. Most of the weather warnings to this point have used the words considerable widespread damage as we talk about winds in excess of 70 miles per hour. That, along with some very heavy rain and, of course, thunder and lightning. Let's take you just off to the north and to the northwest of the Twin Cities Metro. 2 stacked tornado warnings to talk about. Earlier tonight, just to the northwest of Willmar, about an hour ago, we had tornadoes reported on the ground near Bruton and near Murdoch. Again, tornadoes were on the ground near Bruton and near Murdoch. Now we've got 2 tornado warnings for this little slice of Morrison County here until 8:15, and for Benton and Morrison County until 8:15. I can't emphasize this enough. These are Doppler indicated tornado warnings, and you get the idea here where you've got the hail core here with the hail cores all matching with our little tiny blue diamonds, some very large hail and an intense line of storms. And when you pick up these storms, and we want to track this one specific cell, and I'll tell you why. You see right here, Rice, you see that gold box? That lets us know, we call that a mesocyclone signature. That lets us know that there's at least some degree of rotation in the storm. Hence the term Doppler indicated tornado warning. So from Rice, I'll extend it, and the Doppler unit is saying it's moving off to the north-northeast at around 40 miles per hour. That puts a strong portion of the storm into Rice in 2 minutes and into Piers as we work through the next 27 minutes. I'll tell you right now, if you were in this part of Benton and Morrison County right here, I'd like you to put your personal storm plan into effect. It is a Doppler indicated tornado warning, but winds in excess of 70 miles per hour are certainly possible in that very small tornado warning. Now you look at this line that's advancing, and last night I talked about these white signatures, the real deep core of this storm as it advances toward the metro. That's where we'll find the largest hail and the heaviest rain, blinding rain at some times. But last night we were talking an awful lot about wind. This is entirely a straight line wind event, and it will happen very, very, very fast. So let's take you inside these cells and be able to march you around. Last night I was talking extensively about how when you pick up these lines and you move this little scope that I have on here, as you pick up these lines, everything that is moving here in green is moving directly toward the Twin Cities Metro. And you get this very abrupt line where the winds are just in advance of the actual storm. And I've used this analogy many times over the years. I'd like you to think about straight line winds almost like an archer's bow. So there's the bow, and as you pull back and release, just before the actual storms hit, just before the rain and the thunder, you will catch winds in excess of 50 miles per hour. And that gives you a really good idea that that would be all right here before the actual rain, before the deepest core of these storms hits. Right now, when you look at the Twin Cities Metro and you go to the west, we're talking about areas here fully the western half of Sibley County, Meeker and McLeod County, the western half of Wright County, the eastern half of Stearns County, extending here into the latest tornado warnings well to the north. Those little tiny slivers of tornado warnings, and I'll get to those in just a minute. Once again, I'm going to pull a scope out and give you a better idea so that you look. Now, north and south. Look, here's the rain. North and south. Here's the rain. Here it is just coming out of St. Cloud. Here it is advancing away from Hutchinson. Waconia is not in the rain yet, not Baldwin either. But just in advance of the rain, see the bright green? That's Doppler velocity. That lets us know that these very strong winds are advancing. Now, these winds have not meant anything to create any spin like we had last night. We had winds advance out of the west, winds advance out of the east. They hit and they get that little spin. That's where we get a lot of these Doppler indicated tornado warnings. We don't have that. Instead, these are more straight line winds of 50, 60, and 70 miles per hour. So these two tornado warnings, well to the north of this line, there's actually three now. 3 tornado warnings from Morrison County until 8:15. That's that little sliver right there. For this other portion of Morrison County, this little sliver right here, Doppler indicated tornado warnings. And my friend Tim Blotz is with me, and he's in the Fox 9 Weather Center. And Tim, is there anything new on those tornado warnings?
Nothing new in the tornado warnings yet, but if we can get that page up in the computer, we can check for the latest information. So
okay.
That's down for now.
I'll be back there in 2 seconds. Here's how things work when we start to scope this line. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. The warning for the Twin Cities Metro, at least the western half, came out about half an hour ago. And these storms are still fully about 45 minutes away from the metro. So I'll draw a line on the map. That's where the moisture is, but notice the green here, and that's where the line is. That's also where the very, very strong winds are. I've taken up some of your time here. I want to send you back to live programming. Know this, that areas north and south of the Twin Cities Metro, definitely under the weather gun. The story tonight, straight line winds in excess of 50, 60, and 70 miles per hour. ETA for the greater metro here working toward 9 p.m. I'll send you back to live programming. We've got you on Twitter, Facebook, on fox9.com. We've got you on Fox 9 YouTube. And of course, we've always got you live on the Fox 9 weather app. We'll keep you up to date. We'll keep you sky aware. We'll keep you ahead of the storm. It is a sleeves up kind of night, everybody. I'm Fox 9 Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard. We'll talk to you here in about 10 minutes. Hi, everyone, from the Fox 9 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard. I can imagine that you're thinking the sleeves are rolled up. He's on our television at 8:30 on a Thursday night after a very hot, humid day. We must be talking about some strong storms, and you're absolutely right. Twin Cities Metro is now under the weather gun. The entire Twin Cities Greater Metro now in severe thunderstorm warnings. The West Metro until 8:45, the East Metro until 9:15, all a part of this tornado watch as this strong line of storms continues to race off to the east at around 30 miles per hour. Now, in the last 20 to 30 minutes, this line has slowed down, but that hasn't stopped it from producing some very strong winds. We just measured winds in Shakopee at 67 miles an hour. Now, you're saying to yourself, well, Ian, hold on. I can see exactly what's on the screen behind you. The storms are nowhere near that. They're still well back to the west. You're going to start to see the winds, and we're already seeing them here at the Twin Cities Broadcast Center in the Southwest Metro. You'll start to see the winds not coming with the rain, but in advance of the rain. Gusting here out of the west before the rain arrives, some 5, 10, 15 minutes at 30 to 40 miles per hour. And just before the rain arrives, that's when we can expect wind gusts at 50 to 70 miles per hour. We've dispersed our crews safely, I'll tell you that, from Shakopee all the way to Elk River, off to the Mall of America. So we're going to follow these storms as they roll through the greater Twin Cities Metro over the next couple of hours. I don't want to forget what's going on here to the north. Notice there is another line of storms. It stretches from parts of Baldwin, St. Joseph, all the way back into Crow Wing County and has now just crossed 169. There's 169 stretching all the way back to the North Metro. These storms just coming across 169. And I'll back away here to give you a better idea. I'm just going to slide the screen a little bit. All of these gold boxes from Brainerd, Crow Wing County into Mille Lacs and all the way south, all of those are severe thunderstorm warnings over the next 45 minutes. All in relation to these very strong winds that will continue to roll through with these storms. Now, and you're going to see something here, and there's a bit of a phenomenon happening. As you come here into Meeker, McLeod, Carver, and Scott, notice how the rain, that line of showers right here, it just stops. The warm front is to the north, so these storms are feeding on the warm front. To the south, back toward Mankato and Owatonna and Faribault, this area right here is what we call moisture loaded. It is thick, heavy, moist air, and it's really hard to get that robustly firing without some sort of a trigger like a warm front or a cold front. So to the south, no storms right now, but directly west and north of the metros, ferocious, strong line of storms. Throughout the evening, the warnings with this line of storms have included the wording considerable widespread damage with winds at 50 to 70 miles per hour. Our storm chaser Dorothy vehicle, there it is. Ryan, you're in the booth. It's moving from Glencoe right now, correct? Okay, so Dorothy is north of Glencoe and is moving back here through the line of rain coming back to Hennepin County. So let's move you down and talk a little bit about, as this storm develops, where it's all going to be heading. So there you have it. See it flashing in black and gold and with the gold background? That is all the severe thunderstorm warning. So the West Metro, Anoka, Hennepin, Scott, Wright counties, all until 8:45. And notice, this is just, here's the line of storms just coming through Buffalo. So this is the eastern extent here of Wright County, stretching all the way down. It's now across Waconia, moving into Belle Plaine. There's Chanhassen, and back up here, that's Lake Minnetonka. We're not there yet. We're not into Chanhassen. We're not into Minnetonka. But I'll tell you, if you're in Minnetonka or Chanhassen, the winds are already gusting at least 30 miles per hour. And you're thinking to yourself, my gosh, did it get dark in a hurry? Well, it's sunset right now, but it was dark at around 8 o'clock tonight already with the clouds. So it is sunset. The winds are starting to blow. You get an idea where everything is here. Here's what I want to do. Last night we were taking you deep inside these storms by showing you the Doppler velocity. That's exactly what this is, a velocity scope. Let me explain how this works. Doppler, and I mentioned this last night, if you're standing on a highway and a motorcycle goes ripping by you, it changes pitch. It sounds different. It goes, that change in pitch, that's called the Doppler effect, as things come toward you and move away from you. That's how we use it in Doppler radar. So this will give you an idea here. All of this, where it is bright green, That is the wind field moving toward the Twin Cities. And you can outline the strongest winds right there. So see the Doppler unit right there? That's in Chanhassen. Notice the line of storms and rain is back here, Belle Plaine, Waconia, and Buffalo. So the strongest winds, that bright green that you see advancing already in front of Waconia into Chanhassen, those are the winds that I want you to key on right now. And those winds will continue to race here across the metro. So I just want to give you an idea. For everybody in the Twin Cities metro, you are all under a severe thunderstorm warning that is in place all the way into the East Metro until 9:15. We are about 22 minutes away from the Fox 9 News at 9. I'm going to send you back to live programming if things dramatically change. In the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'll of course be on the air, but we'll have the latest on the straight line winds and these very strong storms approaching the West Metro coming up on the Fox 9 News at 9. So for Kelsey Carlson and Randy Meyer, who are here with me in the studio, take a breath. I'm Ian Leonard. We're going to send you back to live programming. Stay sky aware tonight, folks. Bumpy ride coming over the next hour. Sorry, Ryan wrapped me, so. You wrapped me, so I was getting out of there. Ian Leonard, I want to bring you up to date here as we get toward the top of the 9 p.m. hour, and these storms work through parts of the Fox 9 viewing area, parts of the greater metro, and as we move through the next few hours, we are not out of the woods yet. So big picture view, and I know when you look at this, it looks like kindergartners spilled a bunch of paint. So let's talk about this. This red box tornado watch includes the Twin Cities metro. For a spell up until 5 minutes ago, the entire Twin Cities metro was in a severe thunderstorm warning. But as you look here, just the eastern half, Chisago, Dakota, Ramsey, and Washington counties in the severe thunderstorm warning until 9:15. The entire western half was just pulled out of the warnings. As you look, this has gone suddenly very ragtag, and I'll explain that in just a minute. But I want to move north here as this severe thunderstorm warning for a large area of cabin country, Aiken, Cass, Crow Wing, and Itasca County. You see it flashing here in yellow. This is all moving off to the north and to the northeast, forward speed at around 30 miles per hour, generating strong winds in the body of this storm at 50 plus miles per hour. And as I slide you a little further down back to the metro, notice from Buffalo here all the way to Eden Prairie and then back into Carver, Scott, Meeker, and McLeod counties, it's like we went severe clear. Well, it's not like we went severe clear. We absolutely did. As I expand the view, I'll show you in just a minute, but I want to give you an idea here. Over the last 6 hours, watch as the storms run. So they start running in this direction, almost due northeast. Then they make a turn here, almost due east. Now they're making a turn off to the northeast. So it's kind of 1, 2, 3. It's almost like a pattern in football. It's saying, you know, when you have the little rocks and the little bottle caps. Hey, Tommy, you go down here, and Sally, I'll throw the ball when you go around the bottle cap. It kind of looks like we drew up this play. Storms going northeast, storms going east, now tracking northeast. That's why you see this ribbon of severe thunderstorm warnings only from the east metro, but stretching all the way back up through Mille Lacs, off to the north and to the northeast. That's where the strongest portion of these storms is headed right now. And when I say right now, I want you to look with me here, off to the southwest. Marshall, all along the Minnesota River Valley and off to the southwest, a new line of strong thunderstorms beginning to develop. The most interesting point for tonight isn't that northeast, east, northeast jog. It's that here, down toward Albert Lee, Owatonna, and Faribault, over toward Mankato, this entire area hasn't seen storms tonight. That entire area is still very warm, very humid, and primed for storms. And that's exactly what you see right here coming out of northwest Iowa, and it's going to roll into this ripe, ready atmosphere. These storms will continue to roll off to the north, arriving probably greater metro as we work closer to the midnight hour. So you've got a 1 punch that is now turned here off to the northeast, and you've got a 2 punch that will continue to ride to the northeast, arriving sometime toward midnight. East Metro, you're in the severe thunderstorm warning as we work until 9:15, and that bends all the way back here off to the north. Stretch it off to the north with this new severe thunderstorm warning there for Aiken, Cass, Crow Wing, Itasca, Kennebec, Mille Lacs, and Morrison counties. I mean, this is a large complex, and like I said earlier, all producing winds upwards of 50 miles per hour. Through the better part of the night, most of the warnings have said considerable, widespread damage. That was winds at 50 to 70 miles per hour. In the last hour, winds in Shakopee, 67 miles per hour. Winds in Crystal about 15 minutes ago, gusting 60 miles per hour. So the threat here is now stretching off to the north and to the northwest, and then pushing off toward Cabin Country, Mille Lacs, and over toward Duluth until the next line, which is forming here, rides up to the northeast. So there's plenty of dynamic storm coverage left to come this evening as things change and evolve. It is hot, it is stormy, and that is going to continue here over the next few hours. And of course, the sleeves are up. We're here to keep you sky aware, but for right now, we're about to start the Fox 9 News at 9. Stay with us.
This is Fox 9 News at 9.
As you just heard from Ian, we have several rounds to still monitor and watch tonight. You're taking a live look at Mare in western Carver County, just west of Waconia. skies off in the distance, kind of foreshadowing what's to come.
And let's check out that Worthington area. That's in southwestern Minnesota. Fox 9 photojournalist Vanche Murdoch capturing these images as the storm there blew through earlier this evening. Many people, obviously, and needing to seek shelter, they did. Tornado sirens blared in that community.
Yeah, you've seen Ian on your TV tonight, as we mentioned, a second straight night of this severe weather.
Now, many communities are hunkered down in the basements, interior walls. That was happening earlier tonight as well. Let's get straight to Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard. He has been tracking this severe weather throughout the evening. Many of you know that as we watch that radar develop. He talked just a minute ago about how it sort of has done a jog here and there and now is starting to split up at least the system that was closest to the Twin Cities.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is what I mentioned about 5 minutes ago. As a meteorologist, you look at this and it's an awesome sight to see the storms come here, almost northeast. Then they made a turn, straight line winds north and south from near Brainerd, all Crow Wing County, coming down through Candy-Ojai County, stretching through Redwood and Renville counties. Reports of wind gusts upwards of 76 miles per hour back toward Candy-Ojai County. Also reports of tornado touchdowns near Bruton and Murdoch at around 7:50 p.m. tonight. That's about 23 miles to the northwest of Wilmer. So plenty going on, but then those storms, like I said, they made a turn for the metro. Now they make another turn here off to the northeast. That's why the west half of the metro has been dropped from the severe thunderstorm warning. This is an area of concern now. From Marshall all the way back into northwest Iowa, it is a second line of very strong storms. And I mentioned this, that areas here toward Mankato, down I-35, they haven't seen really any amount of storms tonight, but we had temperatures in those locations in the mid-90s. It was hot, it was humid. It is an atmosphere that is very hard to move. Moist, dense air, it's just there, and it's really hard to shift around until you get something like this, a squall line or a warm front or a cold front, or the addition of something we call the low-level jet. All of that in play tonight as this line continues to move to the north. So the greater metro areas south of the downtowns of Minneapolis and St. Paul, I'll tell you right now, I'll give you the all clear. Minneapolis to St. Paul downtowns and areas down toward the Iowa border, in the all clear for now. In the downtowns from Minneapolis and St. Paul to the north, it is a night to stay sky aware. And as I say that, a new severe thunderstorm warning just pops up here down toward the Minnesota River Valley. That's parts of Redwood and Renville counties here. This is taking shape to be the exact same scenario we saw play out over the last 6 hours. Storms develop in a rich environment and race off to the east-northeast, and that's exactly what we'll see here, as these storms will move slowly at first but increase in forward speed probably to about 40 miles per hour. That puts a greater Twin Cities metro if it all holds together. And I'll tell you, it's a pretty ripe, we call it a juicy storm environment for these storms to continue to run here along and then north of the Minnesota River Valley, arriving metro and parts of, say, the Minnesota River Valley down 169, Jordan, St. Peter, all the way into Mankato, then back into, say, Gaylord and parts of Sibley County, and then over toward Candy-Ojai County. Those are all areas under the weather gun here in the next 90 to 120 minutes, so about 2 hours from now. But as I mentioned, there it is from the downtowns of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Areas to the south, breathe a sigh of relief. There's thunder, there's lightning, there's some dark, ominous clouds, but you're out of the severe weather zone for now. The severe thunderstorm warning for the East Metro has been allowed to expire about 11 minutes earlier. It was in place until 9:15. Now it is finished. So Metro, you can take a bit of a breath. We'll all take a bit of a breath right now. It's areas north of the Metro where I want everybody to start paying attention as this line of strong storms continues to move across Moore, across Cambridge, Rush City, across Mille Lacs, and off to the northeast. And then, of course, we start to look for round two later this evening. I'll take a breath. We can all take a breath in the greater metro. Send things back to Randy and Kelsey right now. I'll be in the Weather Center. And as things change, of course, I'll be back here, my friends. Lots to talk about today.
Just a quick question before I let you go, though, because of that area you just talked about on 35, the wind speeds, have they also been reduced? That line we see there, from what we saw come through the Twin Cities, up there by 35, headed north toward Duluth there. Is that going to be those really heavy winds?
I see what you're asking. So in this line of thunderstorms right here, we'll still have the strong winds. That's why you see this severe thunderstorm warning right here. And this is the one for Aitkin, Cass, Crow Wing, and Itasca. You see, and when we talked about this last night, Randy, it's a great question. So you see the line here that moves and it kind of spreads out. So if you look at this right here, it looks like a fan that's going out. That fan shape for that severe thunderstorm warning gives us a really good idea that embedded in this line will be some strong winds here pushing out to the north and to the northeast. And you can see there storm markers, and again the shift here off to the north and to the northeast. So cabin country, not quite blowdown material, but it is definitely strong winds here advancing off toward areas like St. Louis County. Randy, Kelsey, I'll get things back to you.
All right, thank you much. We'll see you in a minute. Our Fox 9 team tracking these storms and the damage left behind all across the metro and, of course, well beyond that.
And we want to go out to Maury Glover tonight, who is in Chaska. Maury, we know what it looks like on the radar and how intimidating it seems. What's it been like out there in person?
Well, we're at the intersection of County Road or Highway 212 and 41, and it's been relatively quiet here. It did start raining a little while ago, but as you can see kind of right behind me, that lightened up, and that has stopped for the most part. Now, I did take a little video as we were on our way here a short time ago of dark clouds rolling into Eden Prairie about a half hour, 45 minutes ago. You can see what looks like several layers of clouds look like on top of each other. Now the clouds got darker on our way to Chaska, and the wind has picked up. We've seen plenty of lightning, and as we said, that rain started about 15 minutes ago, but it already has lightened up. Now, there also have not been a lot of cars out on the road right now, and that's probably a good thing, as with the weather moving in or around, you don't want to be out on the road if you don't have to be. But for now, reporting live in Chaska. I'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks, Maury. We'll get back to you in just a little bit. Well, all night we have been tracking these storms, so we want to go out to Courtney Godfrey as well, who is in Elk River.
Now, Courtney, some of the worst parts of the storm have been hitting that area. What are you seeing now at this hour? Now, Ian did just update us. Some of this has split up and broken apart, but give us a description of how it's going there.
Yeah, we had some rain, not heavy rain like we saw last night, but we had some rain in the last half hour and lots of lightning in the sky. But I'll tell you, in the last 10 minutes, it's really lightened up. The lightning has dissipated, the skies have cleared a bit, and the rain has really decreased. Of course, I'm looking east into where the camera is, and I'm seeing a ton of lightning over to the east right now. But as we drove down Highway 10, heading towards Elk River tonight, there were some very, very angry dark skies that we were looking coming towards us into Elk River, to the point where I said, should we pull over and find shelter? I mean, these were some very intense skies that we were looking at. But as you can see, still tons of cars on the road. People don't seem to be worried. The power is still on. These traffic lights are still working. Interestingly, though, in the last hour, close to 8 p.m., it was still 92 degrees out here. That temperature has dropped nearly 20 degrees in just the time that we've been here. So again, rain has lightened up. The lightning, at least in our immediate area, has lightened up, which is why I feel safe standing out here. But definitely it has cooled down. Randy, Kelsey?
Okay.
All right, nice that the metro is getting that break right now. Thank you, Courtney. We're also hearing about a lot of damage in western Minnesota right now.
Yeah, particularly in Stevens County. Let's go to Amy Hockert in the newsroom. Amy, you just got off the phone a bit ago with the sheriff of Stevens County. What's he saying from that area?
Yeah, that's right, Randy and Kelsey. I did just get off the phone with Sheriff Jason Dingman in Morris, and I want to start with the headline here. First of all, there are no injuries reported in Stevens County, which is pretty incredible. We're about to show you some photos that we have of some of the damage. It is some of the most dramatic damage that we are seeing coming into our newsroom tonight. These are from storm chasers in Stevens County. Now, this is out in western Minnesota. Along with a lot of trees down all over the county, we're hearing that 70-foot tall grain silos have just moved about 10 feet off of those concrete bases, just reduced to rubble, as you can see. The county in really rough shape. The sheriff telling me that just within Morris alone, the roof was blown off the bowling alley there. The John Deere dealership, the front of that was blown off. A lot of county offices have quite a bit of damage. Hundreds of power lines are down in Stevens County, so no one one in Stevens County has power right now, not a single person. So they're keeping an eye on that and trying to respond as best they can, not to mention, of course, all the grain bins, the barns, the countless trees that are down as well. So we're keeping an eye on it, and we'll bring you the very latest. But again, nobody has power there, but most importantly, there are no reports of injuries coming out of Stevens County right now.
All right, Amy.
That is the most important thing. Thank you, Amy. Well, this is the scene in Sioux Falls, South Dakota earlier today. I mean, take a look at this. I had to ask Ian if it was real when I saw it earlier this evening. That's Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That wall of dust moving its way in with all of those winds and all of the dust from the fields. Look at just how high it is above those homes. That was the signal earlier tonight that this is what was headed our way.
All that ag land out there where the ground is open now, no crops in it, and this resembles what you see in a desert setting sometimes when they have those type of storms. So that's very
just
interesting.
enormous.
Listen, you can stay on top of the storms and others with the Fox 9 weather app. We say this a lot, but boy, it's really handy in these kind of storms. It does give you the access to the latest conditions, interactive radar, weather alerts, no matter where you are, traffic conditions, and of course a whole lot more. The app also makes it easier to share your storm pictures with us, which becomes important on nights like this, so we can show all the viewers what's happening out there all around the cities and beyond. Download it for free from the App Store. It's also on Google Play.
And we just want to take you to our tower cam here in Minneapolis. Some lightning still off in the distance tonight. We have more severe weather coverage coming your way right after this. And we're continuing to track severe weather tonight. We'll be back with Ian in just a bit, but we want to get to some other news as well. Finding a nursing home for aging loved ones is becoming more and more difficult. A recent report found 327 nursing homes in the U.S. closed during the pandemic.
And another 400 are projected to close this year. Fox 9's Rose Schmidt looks at the future of long-term care in Minnesota and what it means for people who call these facilities home.
There's a level of caring that comes with working in long-term care.
Their goal is to smile and help our residents smile.
But COVID brought a lot of frowns, leading staff members to leave nursing homes across Minnesota.
Before COVID, it was difficult to find residents, and there were a lot of nursing homes that were fighting over the same residents. Now, a lot of nursing homes are fighting over the same staff.
The problem became so bad that Mark Halpert decided to close a home in Faribault this year and combine it with another facility.
We don't keep our doors open in preparation to close. It's a last resort.
The Care Providers of Minnesota tracks closures across the state. 12 nursing homes have closed since 2020, many of them in rural communities.
But this is their home. For most of them, this has been their home. So moving a frail senior out of their home to another community, even if it's well played and even if it's very similar, is still going to be hard.
CEO Patty Cullen says by law they have to find a new home for residents after a closure, but it can be far away and put stress not only on families but also hospitals.
Hospitals want to discharge within their home community and they're struggling for that.
She cites not only workforce challenges but also financial distress. Nursing homes don't have the money coming in, and without enough staff, they're capped at how many beds they can fill. Halpert says he's begged and pleaded to bring more workers into his 40 facilities, even raising wages by more than 25%.
We've asked questions, where are you going to work? And people just said they don't want to work in healthcare anymore. They're not getting paid enough.
We have to boost up our wages to be competitive in order to address this workforce crisis. And so there is a bill pending before the legislature right now.
And a recent survey of her members found that if that doesn't happen, 40 more nursing homes in Minnesota may be forced to close their doors.
And that's Fox 9's Rose Schmidt. Authorities are looking for the cause of a house fire that claimed 3 lives in western Wisconsin. The call came in just after 3:30 this morning at a home in Barron, Wisconsin. And by the time firefighters got there, that home was engulfed in flames. 44-year-old Donald Albee and his 2 children, 5-year-old Emily and 6-year-old Connor, died in that fire.
This was a tough one. This was probably the first time in my career, the first time in the fire chief's career, that we've seen firemen carrying children out of a house.
Albee's girlfriend, the owner of the home, was treated at the scene. Investigators want to know what sparked that fire. They say lightning is possible but unlikely based on where that fire began. The State Patrol investigating a crash in Northfield that killed a bicyclist. Officials say the bicyclist and a car collided at the intersection of Highways 3 and 19 just after 9:30 last night. The 44-year-old bicyclist was taken to HCMC where he later died. The driver of that car not injured.
The state is consolidating COVID-19 testing sites. Today was the last day for COVID testing at Roy Wilkins Auditorium in St. Paul. Tomorrow will be the last day of testing at the Stillwater Armory. The state will open a new testing site on Monday at the old Herbergers on University Avenue. The Midway site will be open Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Rapid antigen testing is available Sundays from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. The White House kicks off a virtual COVID-19 summit as the death toll in the U.S. approaches 1 million. President Biden ordering flags to fly at half-staff today to honor COVID-19 victims. During the summit, President Biden called on Congress to pass more funding for testing, treatments, and vaccines to prevent future outbreaks.
The request also includes $5 billion to keep up our global partnership in the fight against COVID-19.
The president says the U.S. will share health technologies with the World Health Organization and help start a testing and treatment program for hard-to-reach areas around the world.
Next here at 9, the baby formula shortage is a nationwide issue.
And now the Biden administration is working with companies to increase production.
Plus, more than a dozen multi-million-dollar homes have been destroyed after a wildfire torches the southern California coast.
And have you ever wondered what a black hole actually looks like out there in space? Well, scientists are now giving us a look with some pretty incredible images to match. Well, the baby formula shortage has a lot of parents swapping, selling, and offering leftover supplies to one another.
It's getting pretty bad out there. This comes as President Biden talks with companies about how they can increase their production. Well, the shortage stems from supply chain issues and a safety recall. Abbott's official position is that there has been no evidence produced linking the recall of its products to infant illnesses and deaths. Now Abbott is hoping to get the okay from the FDA to reopen one of its production plants. They also say it could take 10 weeks to produce a product once the okay is given.
And that's not as easy as it sounds. You simply can't turn it up to 11, so to speak, and produce more formula. These are very precise manufacturing mechanisms. Secondly, we have to make sure that, if the Abbott products can come back on the market, that they are safe and effective.
There are currently 8 states that have half the baby formula supply that they should have. A majority of other states are on the cusp of that same number.
The Supreme Court justices met for the first time since the leak of a draft opinion that would overrule Roe v. Wade. The court has not said what was discussed in the meeting, other than saying at least one decision will be announced on Monday. The abortion case is among 37 unresolved cases that were argued in the fall, winter, and spring. The justices typically announce their decisions in early summer. A House panel has issued subpoenas to Republican leader Kevin McCarthy and 4 other GOP lawmakers in its probe in the violent January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. The panel is investigating McCarthy's conversations with then President Donald Trump the day of the attack and meeting with the other lawmakers. This comes as the House panel has already interviewed nearly 1,000 witnesses and collected 100,000 documents in its investigation.
Firefighters are working to contain a wildfire burning along the southern California coast tonight. This is in Laguna Niguel, which is in Orange County. The so-called coastal fire broke out Wednesday night and has since burned 200 acres. Most importantly, it's already destroyed at least 20 multi-million-dollar mansions along the cliffside there. Crews credit the dry terrain and steady winds out there for fueling that fire. There's some images of what it looks like now. Those are some of those mansions we talked about. As wildfire season is just getting underway, officials say fast-burning fires destroying structures could be the new norm.
Unfortunately, I believe this is what we're going to be experiencing over the next several months or the next several years.
Luckily, there have been no deaths from this fire. However, one firefighter was injured. The coastal fire is now about 15% contained.
Well, it's been a hot topic among state lawmakers, but it seems the debate over sports betting might be over.
And the price at the pump continues to go up. I don't have to tell you that. You know it. We break down how much it will be costing you to fill up your tank in the future. And another stormy night across the state. Ian Leonard's been tracking the storms as we look live there across the cities. The storm has moved north of the Twin Cities, out of the metro for the most part right now, but the folks to the north still need to be aware and sky aware. Storms passing through the Twin Cities area tonight. You're getting a live look at the roads right now as that severe weather moving north of the metro at this hour. This is the 35 split north of the metro. Traffic still moving. Wet highways, obviously. One viewer also capturing this image of a lightning strike. This is in Isanti, north of the cities. The strike lighting up the sky during that severe weather earlier today before nightfall. Now, this was the aftermath of the storms today in southwest Alexandria near Lake Darling. The strong winds tipping over a part of an area there, a house and a garage, a shed took the brunt of it there. You can see that garage moved, that small storage shed and garage moved off its foundation.
And the storm also bringing in some pretty ominous clouds earlier this evening. This is video from just north of Becker and St. Cloud. The sky's getting dark as the tornado sirens start to wail off in the distance. And you can see, I mean, the atmosphere is changing in that picture. A similar scene in Cold Spring, those clouds just moving in over this neighborhood.
That's the alien.
That exactly with the fourth Independence Day. Is that what I'm thinking? Yeah, that movie. This was the scene also in Stevens County in western Minnesota, where they've seen quite a bit of damage tonight. A lot of power outages there too. The storm's really taking a toll on that area, along with downed trees. That's a 70-foot tall grain silo that was moved off its concrete base. And we're also hearing that the John Deere dealership also has some damage to
Lost a roof.
So thinking about you folks out there in western Minnesota.
Pretty widespread. Where are we now?
Severe clear for the metro.
Okay.
For now.
Okay.
The storms that came through, and I'll tell you, I was just talking with Cody Matz, and you know, when we get into an environment like this, meteorologists love to talk to other meteorologists, and we were just saying how this storm went jog, jog, jog. It was an incredible shift, and now as those storms run to the north, they're going to run into some very cold air, considering where we were in temperatures in southern Minnesota today, and they dissipate very, very quickly. But it's round two that's starting to take shape off in southwestern Minnesota as well as we look toward midnight. So let's give you the summary here as everything stays on track from where we were earlier this evening. Tornado watch is still in place for the metro. Tornado watch is slimming somewhat well off to the west. Now, when you start to think about what happens in Grant, Stevens, Pope, and Douglas counties, that's the area right here. All of the severe weather damage we had also down toward areas like Lacaparo County. Then you come up to parts of Crow Wing County and into Wilmer County. Candiota County near Wilmer, near Bruton. There was plenty going on tonight all to the west. And when the storm started to form, they were going north, working parallel to I-29. Then they all turned into this line, congealed, and started to track due east. That's when the Storm Prediction Center says we're going to extend the tornado watch. And then from the tornado watch extension, severe thunderstorm warnings across the entire metro before those storms decide here to work off to the north and to the northeast. So I'll tell you right now, for the metro, we are what I would call severe clear. There are some scattered thunderstorms still working here just off to the northeast of Forest Lake, working toward Sunrise, up toward Rush City, more in Cambridge. But this entire area, severe clear. And for anybody who's on Twitter saying, oh, I wanted the storms, trust me, you didn't. We were talking about winds at 70 to 90 miles per hour. You did not want those storms. There's the storms riding off to the north, now into parts of St. Louis County and beginning to fizzle as they approach Duluth. So from severe clear in the metro, all the warnings allowed to expire very quickly. I want to concentrate on what's happening here off to the south and to the southeast. Watch as it comes and goes. So ready? We go up, over, and up. That was the pattern over the last 6 hours. But now off to the southwest, an entirely new line of storms forming here along the Minnesota River Valley. Running off to the northeast, running into some juicy air that hasn't been tapped into yet in terms of our atmospheric conditions. So as we work, and I'll give you a timeline here. So it's coming up 25 minutes to 10. As you look to about 11:30 to 1:30 in the morning, I know that's a big timeline, primarily midnight hour. That's when you can expect some rumbles here in the greater Twin Cities metro. It is still a night to stay skyware as you tuck yourself into bed. These storms will continue to rumble with some decent winds as we work through the evening. So again, severe clear, that's exactly what we're following right now. I do want to take you in on one of these storms so that as you look here, just off to the north and to the northeast, see the gold box that we're starting to pick up? That is a mesocyclone signature. Watch, I'm going to clear everything off. See it right there? Let me move and track this little storm here that's really shooting the gap between Forest Lake and Osceola. That is a storm that has some relative strength because it has some degree of spin as shown by the gold square, that spin, that mesocyclone. So into Schaefer and then Palmdale here in the next 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to move away from the screen because I want to give everyone an idea what the 7-day forecast looks like as these storms move to the north. I just got to jog one little thing here on the weather computer. Yeah, go ahead.
Ian, I got some friends up in Osceola, the Cumlands. They're wondering whether they're going to get that strong wind. I know that Osceola is just to the east of where your triangle is.
Yeah.
Will they feel those?
I think we're talking winds in excess of 30 here, Randy. We're not talking the 60s, 70, and 80s.
Okay.
And a quick look here at your 7-day forecast, and I'll tell you, you can breathe a sigh of relief as you wake up first thing tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Look at the forecast as we go into the weekend. Gorgeous, very warm temperatures, well above average. High temperatures in the upper 70s tomorrow and Saturday. Should see brilliant sunshine. My daughter has prom, junior prom for Chanhassen High School, and all the parents are worried about pictures. I think at this point Saturday we're going to be good.
What's more stressful, being a prom parent or severe weather coverage?
Or being the meteorologist who has to make sure that prom doesn't get rained out?
Bingo. All those other things don't even count when it comes to pictures and hair and everything else. A good night, though, to stay skyware. Particular greater metro as we head through the midnight hour. And by the way, we're going to be here all night. Well, I'm going to be here all night long. They'll be tucked into bed, and I'm not going to leave until we sound the all clear for the entire state as we head through the overnight. I will not leave you. If you're in bed and there's thunder and booms and you think, I wonder if it's severe, roll over. Click on Fox 9. If I'm on the air, you know those are strong storms.
Or grab your phone and watch on the app, too.
Well, you don't need your beauty sleep.
I need extra beauty sleep. A lot of beauty sleep.
We'll be thinking about you all weekend, though.
Oh, that's so nice.
All right, thanks,
Thank you, Ian.
All right, we want to go out to Courtney Godfrey, who is in Elk River tonight, where the storms have passed and it is much, much quieter. And we've got some power on behind you, Courtney, too, with the traffic lights.
Yeah, Kelsey, an amazing thing to see after all the power outages that we saw yesterday and last night, especially when you and I were driving home. It seemed like no traffic light was on last night. But yeah, we seem to have dodged a bullet here in Elk River. It was raining with lots of lightning in the sky around 8:30 when we got here. Facing west, coming down Highway 10 tonight, we were driving into some very dark, very angry looking clouds. And it really didn't look good there for a bit, but we got some rain, we saw some lightning, and after about 10 minutes it passed, and now we're here in the clear. I think Ian described it perfectly. The metro is really in the clear, and I'm living it here. It rained for a little bit, but now we're good. Hopefully it stays that way here in Elk River. The temperature has certainly dropped, so it's dropped about 20 degrees since we first got here around 8 o'clock, but otherwise, all clear. I can see the moon, I can see the sky, quite a difference from what we were seeing last night.
Yeah, what a wild day with temperatures, you know, in the mid-70s when we came into work early this afternoon, then all the way up to 90 and then back down again.
I think if memory serves me, when we started the show, it was 87 degrees, so now it's 73. Big changes.
All right, stay safe out there, Courtney. Thank you. In other news tonight, it is welcome news for anybody who receives Social Security benefits. You could be in for some big cost of living boosts. The Senior Citizens League says it expects the Social Security Administration to increase benefits by as much as 8.6% next year. It is the biggest hike in 40 years. This comes as the U.S. grapples with high inflation. The average monthly benefit is about $1,657. A final decision is expected in October. Another day of record high fuel prices. According to AAA, Americans are paying an average of $4.41 for a gallon of regular unleaded. That is 17 cents more than a week ago. This time last year, we were paying $1.40, if you can believe that. The cost for a gallon of diesel stands at $5.55, and that is nearly $2.50 more than a year ago.
The world is getting its first image of a huge black hole in the center of the Milky Way galaxy. It's called Sagittarius A star. The black hole is located near the border of Sagittarius and Scorpius constellations. It's 4 million times bigger than our sun and located about 26,000 light years away from Earth. This black hole was discovered in the 90s, but this is the first time they've been able to actually see it.
I met it 20 years ago and have loved it and tried to understand it since. But until now, we didn't have the direct picture confirming that Sag A star was indeed a black hole.
Now, black holes typically consume galactic material, but scientists say Sagittarius A star is a gentle giant on a near starvation diet, whatever that means.
Won't he get hungry at some point?
Well, you got to think. Everybody does.
Yeah.
From this, don't know what to make of that.
I don't know what to make of it, but it's a big deal, and it's amazing to have those images.
Very cool.
Yeah.
From the suburbs to rural land, one Minnesota couple is living on their own slice of paradise on their farm.
We're going to meet a couple who used their shared love for animals to create a haven for those who need a forever home.
We know sometimes life can take you in very unexpected places.
Yeah, a pair of suburban high school sweethearts learned that lesson when they reunited years later and found a special way to pursue their passion.
In tonight's Maury's Stories, Maury Glover shows us how they opened their own farm animal sanctuary.
Off of U.S. Highway 12, just outside Baldwin, Wisconsin, there's a tiny plot of land that feels like paradise.
There's something about it out here that's just magical.
Its owners call it a little slice of heaven. But it's also a haven here on Earth.
As soon as I hit the farmland, as soon as I hit the rolling hills, I can feel my whole body just relax, and I just have no other explanation for it other than must be God's country out here. Here's Henry. He's our resident turkey. He's our guard turkey. He's quite impressive.
On this 10-acre farm, there's everything from cats and dogs
This is Lane. He's our greeter. He's the first one that you'll see when you show up to the farm.
to more typical barnyard beasts.
Buddy, what's up? What's up, buddy? What do you need? You want kisses? Yes, do you like to give kisses? You sure do, don't you?
More than 140 of them call this picture-perfect parcel home.
Maverick, why are you in the water bowl, buddy? Why are you in the water bowl? Huh?
But it's also hopefully the last stop for all involved.
We take in either homeless or unwanted for various reasons, farm animals and other animals that need a soft landing, and we provide them with a forever safe and loving home.
Gina and Chris Mazzell are a long way from their suburban roots, where they were high school sweethearts in Eden Prairie who went their separate ways after graduation. They reconnected 6 years ago and eventually got married, bonding over their shared love of fostering animals and a desire to get more out of life.
I had visited a farm when I was in second grade, and I can tell you everything about that farm to this day. I could lay out the farmhouse, I could tell you where the animals were, what some of the names of those animals were, and it just really struck a chord with me. And I think I was a city girl that was maybe meant to be a farm kid.
Even though neither of them grew up on a farm or had any farm experience, the couple sold everything they owned, including their home in Eagan, and bought a farm, which they named after Chris's jersey number when he played high school hockey. And one by one, they started taking in farm animals who had nowhere else to go, until Old MacDonald had nothing on them.
When we went into this, we're like, oh, maybe 50 animals. That sounds good, 50. Well, I think 6 months we had 50, and after a year we're at 100, and it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about how quickly it happened. Well, hello. Hi, Mabel. Come on, babe.
Now, 22 Farms is a full-fledged nonprofit farm animal sanctuary with a dozen different breeds.
If we would have tried this 50 years ago without Google and YouTube, it would have been a whole different story.
We've had a couple that come from some pretty bad situations, and we hear about them through people, and they'll call and say, hey, can you help out? And those are some of the animals that really kind of have stolen our hearts.
After all, who wouldn't love a 500-pound pig named Sally, who has a birth defect that caused one of her legs to be shorter than the others?
She loves belly rubs. Right now she's a little feisty with the boys, so she's hanging out in a different pasture with the cows. Don't let her disability, if you will, fool you. She can run, and she is, she's quite funny.
Or a turkey named Henry, who wasn't getting along with his previous owner's flock, and now stands guard over the yard and isn't afraid to ruffle a few feathers.
He puffs up when people come, but if he's puffed, sometimes he stands really still, which makes him almost look like a statue. And we've had many times people will pull up and they'll just see him on the side and really not think he's real, because he is quite impressive. And as soon as they shut their car door, Henry responds to the loud noise with a loud noise. So we often just sit and kind of do the countdown, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, here he goes, to watch people's reaction.
Then there's the goat, whose previous owners left her outside in the middle of winter and lost her back hooves to frostbite. The Mazzells didn't know if she would make it, but she's not only survived on their farm, she's thrived. Her name is Hope.
She runs around now. She is a typical goat. She's gained so much weight. Her coat looks great. She likes to headbutt the cats, and she's just a doll. So Hope is an example of why we do what we do.
Hope is a funny thing. A little bit goes a long way. And now the Mazzells' dreams to make their pet projects self-sustaining. Life on the farm may be different than what they were used to, but they wouldn't have it any other way.
I just really encourage people, if you've got something that you want to do, just go for it. And you don't have to know what you're doing. We had no idea what we were doing. A couple city kids moving out here and taking on a big farm like this. And we were learning every day, but it just makes it all worth it.
For Maury Stories, Maury Glover, Fox 9.
That just shows you can always learn something new.
YouTube.
Yeah, and YouTube
Apparently.
is your friend. YouTube has helped us with so many things.
I just keep hearing my grandfather's voice over, and he owned a farm and worked on a farm. These are not pets. He would just keep saying, these are not pets.
I grew up with farmland all around me.
Yeah.
And
good for them though, right?
yeah, amazing. So, and that big turkey, I should say, he is quite
imposing
impressive.
at times, right? How about this? Kentucky Derby winner Rich Strike will not be going to the Triple Crown. Owner Rich Dawson says the horse will not compete in the Preakness. Dawson, along with trainer Eric Reed, agreed to stick with the initial plan to rest Rich Strike for 5 weeks. The plan is to have the horse ready to run in the Belmont Stakes. That's on June 11th. Rich Strike was the biggest long shot to win the Kentucky Derby in more than a century at 80-1 odds. Could be down to this. The Wild are back on the road facing the Blues, and if they win, they're still in the playoffs. If they lose, the season ends tonight in St. Louis.
Late game tonight. Sports director Jim Rich joining us with a look at how it's going so far.
Yeah, it's time to bring out all those cliches, right?
Oh boy.
There's no tomorrow, back against the wall, win or go home.
Another
All
one
those-
bites the dust.
Let's
I don't know.
hope we don't have to use that one tonight here. Boy.
Slow your roll.
Kelsey.
I'm not saying, I'm just helping you with cliches.
Ooh, can you get that out of my shoulder back there?
Let's hope Dean Evanson isn't listening
Yeah.
because he's busy right now.
Yeah, I hope he is. All right, all those are in play tonight, except for Kelsey's cliche, as the Wild try and force a Game 7 back in St. Paul on Saturday night. Dean Everson giving Cam Talbot his first start of the postseason, and the Blues didn't get many chances in the first, but here's Nick Leddy getting a lane and firing a shot that seemed to be a harmless wrister, but it goes right through Talbot, giving the Blues a 1-0 lead. Wild press for the equalizer late in the period. Best chance came here from Matt Boldy, but Jordan Binnington holds his ground to make the save. So despite the Wild outshooting the Blues 10-4, they trail 1-0 early in the second. All right, the Vikings releasing their schedule for the upcoming season, and there are going to be a lot of holidays where Viking fans will be watching their team, and a tough ending to this season as well, at least on paper. Vikings will have to be ready week 1 since they open up against Green Bay, and the control of the division will be up for grabs right out of the gate. Other highlights, their trip overseas to face the Saints in London on week 4, then week 10, perhaps the toughest road game against Stephon Diggs and the Bills. The Cowboys come to town the following week at US Bank Stadium, then the holiday games hits. First on Thanksgiving, there'll be the late game against the Patriots. Christmas Eve, the Vikings will host the Giants. And then on New Year's Day, the Vikings will be at Chili Lambeau Field for their rematch with the Packers. Now, we'll have a complete breakdown of what's to come this year for the Vikings tonight on our Fox 9 schedule release show. Ron Johnson, Don Mitchell, and Hobie Artigue will take a peek at what's coming the Vikings' way. That's tonight live at 10:35 here on Fox 9. All right, the Twins wrapping up their suspended game last night. So out of control, Nick Gordon pitched the ninth, and the Twins outfielders gave up just one hit in retiring the Astros, but the damage was already done as Houston wins that game 11-3. Then in the regularly scheduled game, Gordon was back in center field and comes up with this marvelous catch, diving to rob Jose Altuve of a hit. But there was no catching this next one. Yordan Alvarez sends this one deep to center, and all Gordon could do is watch it go over his head. A 2-run shot, the first of 2 home runs for him. Houston up 3-0. Then in the fourth, Caleb Theobar scrambles off the mound to get this roller, but his flip to first, not a good one. It goes into right field, another run scores. Houston goes on to shut out the Twins 5-0 to sweep the series. Rain also interrupted last night's United game as well, so they finished up this afternoon when they resumed game tied at 1, and in the 87th minute, Emmanuel Reynoso walks in from the right side and puts it home, putting the Loons up 2-1. From there, despite a man down, United hangs on for the victory, and they move on in the U.S. Open Cup to the round of 16. Some interesting moves by the Lynx today. Remember when Angel McCoughtry was brought in as someone to be a key cog in the Lynx drive for a title? Well, today the team announced an agreement with the former Olympian to release her from the squad. Then later, the Lynx also released Odyssey Sims. So the Lynx currently only have 6 healthy players on the roster right now. Lynx started the season off 0-3. So Cheryl Reeves apparently deciding some changes.
Boy, I guess.
Needed to be made. We don't know the particulars yet, whether it was a mutual agreement, but we don't know the circumstances of why they came to that decision as of yet.
We will, though.
Hopefully.
All right.
All right,
Go wild. Go wild, right, Kelsey?
That's right.
Go
All
wild.
right, we're less than a week away from the first pitch of the 2022 Fox 9 Town Ball Tour. Our first stop is in Cologne on Wednesday. We'll be hanging out with the Hollanders. They have a family who's been a part of the team for 3 generations. The Hollanders will be facing the Plato Blue Jays next Wednesday. First pitch set for 7:30. We hope to see you there. Along with Fox 9 swag, we're having an ice cream social as well. So come get some ice cream while we're out there.
Yeah, we're teaming up with Minnesota Ice Cream this summer to bring this ice cream truck to our town ball stops. And we got a taste of some of that today. It's delicious, by the way. It's not just town ball. The ice cream truck will be at some other events here in the Twin Cities this summer as well.
It's pretty
delicious. I had, well, I'm not going to divulge all the different flavors because they should
Well,
be
we'll just say
surprised.
there's Fruity Pebbles, Oreos.
Oh, you are going to divulge them all.
Exactly. There's a surprise too, but the Oreos, the cookie dough, Fruity Pebbles, waffle cones, it's delicious.
Pretty much covers it.
There's the one surprise ingredient
Oh,
that
I
you'll
know
have
which
to
one
come
you're
out to
talking
Town
about.
Ball to find out. We're not telling you.
It's edible sprinkles!
No, see,
He's not quite there yet.
he blew it.
Yeah. All right. That is going to do it for us here at 9 o'clock.
And here's a look at what's coming up next on our 10 at 10. A father and his 2 young children killed in a house fire.
And storms continue to wreak across the Twin Cities. These are shots from earlier today, last night's storm. We'll take a look at what has occurred tonight as well.
And here's Ian.
This is the last 6 hours of Storm Vision radar. Tornado watch is still in place, but waning. Storms moving strong to the north, and another line of marginally strong storms developing out of the southwest. We'll talk about what I mean here with marginally strong and tracking our way. I've got it coming up in your Weather First forecast on 10 at 10. We'll see you then.
2 punch. More extreme weather on the way after severe storms rocked the state on Wednesday,
Batten down the hatches, put your personal storm plan into effect.
bringing tornadoes and damaging winds,
I'm shaking right now just looking at it.
downing power lines, causing a deadly crash. Severe storms battering Minnesota for a second straight night.
Here's a live look at our cameras across the Twin Cities right now, but the metro seems to have really dodged the worst of it, with these storms sort of dying out a little bit as they approach the metro tonight. So we are in a situation right now where we are breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief. Ian is still tracking more storms, though, heading into the area.
Yeah, it looks pretty good here. Things a little worse to the north, though, as well. Is this Duluth right here? Yes, this is a live look at Duluth. You can see there's a lot of lightning still in the distance there as well. The storm really been moving very quickly. Just a few hours ago, we all saw this at about 6 o'clock. It was Sioux Falls, and these powerful winds just raising that wall of dust over the city. And then our Fox 9 crews on the ground as this thing moved into Worthington in southern Minnesota as well. So those are some live shots from at that time.
And then stop and take a look at this for a second. Becker, you can see the winds blowing across Highway 10, picking up a ton of dust and dirt from the fields out there. So visibility almost nothing as folks are driving along Highway 10 tonight. But again, those strong winds pulling all of that dirt from the fields and then pushing it across the highway.
And already some dramatic pictures here into our newsroom tonight. These are from Stevens County in western Minnesota. Some storm chasers were out there and got these images of some grain bins just reduced to rubble. We talked to the sheriff telling us multiple buildings are damaged, trees in the streets, the entire county without power right now. So a lot to pick up there tomorrow, and we haven't even seen the worst of it yet.
And Douglas County also dealing with a lot of damage this evening. These are images showing some trees down, a boat ripped apart, debris scattered about in Alexandria. Authorities tell us there's a handful of homes that are damaged. They're still assessing that right now. We may not know the full scope until tomorrow, but from all of those pictures, you can really see how strong the wind was. Here's another one. Several overturned semis on 94 near Alexandria. Eastbound lanes are blocked and traffic is being rerouted as authorities try to get to the drivers. Very dangerous situation across portions of our state as this big system moves across.
There's also a report now just into the National Weather Service that a grain bin fell on a car in Candy, Ojai County, killing one person there. So we are working at this hour to confirm that information with authorities.
All right, we want to start with Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard, though, again, with a look at where things stand right now.
You know, tonight is going to be another one of those nights where the light of tomorrow really shines on all of the damage. And all of the damage, for the most part, is so if you were to go all the way through Candy, Ojai County, north and south, and work this way, that's where most of the wind damage was, most of the tornado reports. But you're looking here at the last 6 hours. And really what we had are storms develop, shift here, tracking due east, and then make another shift off to the north. So you come down to the metro, and I said this earlier during the 9 o'clock news, once the line of storms looked like it was about to roll in, it faded very quickly, and we went into what we'll call severe clear. It is very warm, although it has cooled dramatically from 92 degrees earlier today in the metro, right now sitting at 73. The air is very thick and heavy, but notice another line of storms set to approach out of the west-southwest. The line of storms that was riding to the north has fizzled very quickly in some very cool air, where to the north we had high temperatures today in the upper 50s to the low 60s. So let's talk about what's next. Notice the gap in the map right here. Those are the storms that came and went. This is our next line of storms that is approaching out of the southwest. Let me expand the view for you here. None of these storms are warned right now. They're working into an environment that has already been worked over a few times. It's kind of like going for a run, and then somebody says, do you want to go for another run? And you go, okay, but I won't be very good at it. That's exactly what the atmosphere is right now. It's been worked over. It's been wrung out. So any energy that comes back in the terms of what we call outflow boundaries, so you can't see winds that are outflow boundaries, but when rain and storms hit the ground, it's almost like they sneeze. So invisible lines of wind, if you will, roll out from those storms, and that happens from the north. So those winds roll back, meet some of these, and they could flare up into some marginally strong storms. Right now, it is just thunder and lightning all marching here off to the north, working though at quite a clip at between 30 and 40 miles per hour coming across the Minnesota River Valley. So if you're in the metro right now, you're thinking, oh, thank goodness. Let's everyone follow me. Let's go to the backyard. No, I don't know where you're going. What time is it? 5 after 10. Where are you I don't know. Go to the patio?
Where are we going?
Not you. People at home. I was just trying to make the point that once we went clear here, people were like, oh, thank goodness. And then I said, hold on. Before you tuck yourselves into bed, I want you to know that this line of storms will be making an approach. And you see Storm Tracker here, all these little fans that are extending. Those fans will continue to move these storms off toward areas like the metro, stretch it out into Stearns County, down toward Candy, Ojai, Redwood, Renville counties, and then down toward Blue Earth County. They will continue to roll up I-35 into areas like Dakota, Washington, Anoka County, all in the next 60 to 90 minutes. So we're not quite finished with storms, but at this point, with them not going severe, we're finished with at least the threat of strong and even severe thunderstorms. So I'll move you off Storm Vision right now, get things back to Kelsey and Amy. Is one of those nights where there are people on Twitter tonight, I wanted the storms. Why didn't we get the storms? What happened? I'm thinking, I'm almost positive that nobody wants storms that contain 70 to 90 mile per hour winds, and I'm thankful we didn't get them. But as we work through the next couple of hours, we've still got some boomers set to roll on through, and then an amazing weekend, and we'll talk about that here coming up in about 10 minutes.
You're watching this, and we just need to get to the other side of it. Okay, thank you, Ian. Well, western Minnesota was hit particularly hard tonight. Lots of damage reports coming in out of Stevens County.
Yeah, joining us live right now, Sheriff Jason Dingman of Stevens County. So thanks so much for taking the time. I know you're running on a generator right now where you are. Tell us about what you've been seeing throughout Stevens County tonight.
Yeah, we have no power in the entire county. All of the cities within our county are without power. We have multiple buildings that are damaged or destroyed. Hundreds of trees and power lines down. Thankfully, though, we only have 2 injuries out of this that we know of at this point. No fatalities. It was really nasty here, but I think we're in the cleanup stages at this point.
Sheriff Dingman, tell us what time you saw this start in Stevens County, and what was it like in the middle of all of those strong winds and the stormy weather?
I think I went out about 6:30 to do, the storm spotting, and I drove right into the middle of it, and it was hurricane force winds. It seemed to be straight line winds. I watched metal sheds being blown through fields. It was crazy. Luckily it only lasted, a few short minutes, the really strong stuff, but there was a lot of damage here in Stevens County.
Yeah, even I talked to somebody who lives in Morris tonight, and he said he saw what he described. He said it kind of looks like a war zone, even in town. Trees down, you can't get past on the roads. And you talked about some of the structures and the buildings even within the town that have been damaged severely.
Yeah, multiple buildings damaged. Like I said, trees blocking roadways. We have crews working on getting those cleaned up right now, so the power companies can get to what they need to get to fix.
All right, well, you got a lot on your hands.
Yeah, you mentioned you're running on a generator right now, so does that mean everything's okay with the dispatch center and emergency responders?
Correct. We're sitting good right now. We're gonna need fuel soon, but we're working through that right now, hopefully to get our tanks filled up here to keep the power going to the dispatch center.
All right, well, we'll let you get back to work here. We really appreciate you taking the time with us tonight. All right, thank you, Sheriff Dingman from Stevens County. Well, tonight severe weather comes as communities are cleaning up from last night's storms.
They spawned at least one tornado causing significant damage in Coon Rapids. Strong winds toppled trees and power lines, leaving more than 200,000 without power. Down power lines also led to a crash on I-90, killing a storm chaser and injuring 3 other people.
Well, that tornado in Coon Rapids left a path of damage about 3 miles long. A fallen tree split this home in half. The owner and his sister were home at the time, but thankfully nobody was hurt.
We didn't even hear this happen because, the storm was so loud, And when the sirens went off, we all went downstairs.
Beyond tornadoes, strong winds took down trees and power lines, and a giant tree fell on a couple's car in Golden Valley, and another fell on a home in Crystal.
They went through the fence, they tore off my siding, and they tore down all the electric wiring. So I have no electricity either.
The damage also let rain into her home, leaving her with water damage on top of that mess.
Well, a meteorologist from Mexico was killed in a car crash while chasing last night's violent weather.
This is the accident we were just talking about with the storm chaser that was killed. The wreck on I-90 in southwest Minnesota killed Martha Llanos Rodriguez. She died when the car she was riding in tried to avoid downed power lines and then was hit by a semi. 3 others in the vehicle were hurt, including meteorologist Bradford Barrett. His close friend and colleague says that Barrett takes meteorologists from Chile and Mexico to the U.S. every summer to show them storms in the Great Plains.
There's inherent dangers with storm chasing because, obviously the weather itself, but then also, other drivers and the road conditions. So even the most experienced person that is out looking at storms can, encounter some of these dangers when they're out on the road.
Barrett has life-threatening injuries right now. 2 other passengers hurt in the crash are expected to survive.
2 young children and their father are dead after a house fire in Barron County.
This was a tough one. This was probably the first time in my career, the first time in the fire chief's career, that we've seen firemen carrying children out of a house.
Those firefighters able to pull the 2 kids from the burning home. They were taken to a hospital, but they did die a short time later. Police has identified them as 5-year-old Emily Albee and 6-year-old Connor Albee. The body of their father, 44-year-old Donald Albee, was later found in that house. His girlfriend owned that home. She was able to get out, and she was treated at that scene for injuries. Fire crews now investigating whether this was accidental, negligence, or intentional.
President Joe Biden is addressing the baby formula shortage, driving parents to take very desperate measures right now. Experts are calling it the worst formula shortage in decades. It started after a contamination problem at a factory led to a recall and then low supply. The president is now asking retailers, including Walmart and Target, to take some urgent steps to resolve the shortage.
The conversation with the CEOs of Walmart and Target focused on how they are working to stock shelves, including in rural areas, and any regional disparities they are seeing. And the president asked what more his team can do to help move product and get more product to those communities.
The U.S. Energy and Commerce Committee also planned to hold an oversight hearing on the formula shortages later this month. The Minnesota House has voted to legalize sports betting. It is the furthest issue this issue has ever gotten. Here, the House bill authorizes wagering at casinos owned by the state's Native American tribes, but it faces long odds in the Senate, where some Republicans want racetracks in on the action, while others oppose any expansion of gambling. The Senate Majority Leader says it is running out of time.
The House bill is sports betting exclusive to tribal casinos. That does not have the support to pass in the Senate.
So we're going to keep trying and we're going to keep pushing all the way to the end on that issue, and hopefully something can break loose over there.
Tonight's House vote was 70-57, and the session ends May 23rd.
All right, stay with us here as we continue to track the weather that's moving across Minnesota. Ian will be back with the very latest after this break. Well, we have been tracking these severe storms all